Hello guys, my name is Faiza Ahmed and I will be presenting today's paper, VideoFusion. Next slide. So we're gonna start by introduction, which we will talk about what is VideoFusion. So VideoFusion is a high quality video generation method based on diffusion model, which can generate a complete and continuous video by adding two types of noise. The first type is base noise that is shared by consecutive frames. So the noise latent variable of different frames will always share a common parts between each other. And the other type of the noise called residual noise, and that is varies along the time axis. Next slide. So why this paper? This paper is, as we know that video data is always of a higher dimension and involving a complex correlation between each frames and the next one. So previous methods for video generation used a standard diffusion process where all frames in the same video are added with independent noise. And the temporal correlation also gradually destroyed through the noise latent variables. So they found that it's very challenging for the denoising network to reconstruct the coherent frames for independent from the independent noise samples through the denoising process. So inspiring from this idea, the author of this paper thought that is what if the consecutive frames share the most while the consecutive frames share most of the content of the video. So it would be easier to generate video frames from noises that also have a common parts from each other. Next slide. So to illustrate this idea, they used a decoder called Deli E2 to generate images conditioned on the same latent embedding. So as we see in this image, in this first part A, the images are generated from independent noises, and their content are various from each other. So there is many difference from the images and each other. So the background, also the motion of the person. So there is a lot of differences from between these images. While in the next part of the image B, we can see that the images are generated from the same base noise, and it's almost identical. It shares a lot of information between each other, the motion and the person and the background. So from this idea, they found another benefit of sharing information between consecutive frames, that if we want to predict next frame of video, we having a video and we want to predict next frame, so we can easily input the previous frame into a large image generation DPM with only one forward pass, and we can this large model can predict the next frame. The next slide. So this part we're going to talk about the methods. Next slide. So we're going to talk about the standard diffusion process for a video through this three equation. So X is representing the video clip with n frames, and Z is representing the noise latent variable of X at each step. And the third equation, ZIT, is representing this video frames after the adding the noise to it. So it just, as we see, it just multiplication of xi, the current, which represent the current frame of the video. It's and multiply it with a scalar, then add this value to epsilon, which represent here in this equation our noise, which is sampling from Gaussian distribution, which is easy to predict. So the added noise epsilon of each frame is independent of each other. This is the general diffusion process. So and the different frames in the video clip X are included to Z, which is also independent noise samples. So as we see, the diffusion process ignores the relationship between video frames. So they didn't use that benefit. So in the next slide. So in the decomposing the diffusion process, they try to use that benefit of that consecutive frames sharing most of the information between each other. So to utilize the similarity between videos, they did this in 2 steps. So first one, they split the frame xi into 2 parts. The first part called is base frame x0, which contain the common parts of the video frame. And then the second part is called residual frame, which is delta xi, as we see in this equation, xi. But we have another variable called lambda, which is multiplied by x0. And this lambda have 2 values. Either it's b1 or 0. So if lambda equals 0, it's going to be like x0, xi have nothing in common with x0, and vice versa. And the next step is that they split the added noise into 2 parts, the base noise and the residual noise, in the second equation. The next slide. So as we see in this image, P is representing the noise, the base noise. So it's shared between all different frames in the video clip. So different frames will be noised to the same value. And this will help the denoising network to reconstruct a coherent videos. Next slide. So as we said before, X0 is containing the most information of the video clip, but they found that it's not easy to be learned. So they used a pre-trained image generation model to reconstruct this X0. And they do the sampling in 2 steps. The first step is they trying to remove the base noise using the base generator, which is the denoising network of the image diffusion model. In this case, they used Deli, which it takes only 1 frame, which is also a consumed memory, and it allows the author to use a very large pre-trained model, up to 2 billion parameters. And the next step is they estimate the remaining residual noise, delta X, via a residual generator. Use a smaller network up to 500 million parameter, and they continue looping until through this process until they get the pure frames of the video X frames, X samples. Okay, come to the result of this paper. Next slide. So in this part, they trying to test the VideoFusion into a dataset called with man actions, which is containing different people with different motion. But they found that it's not easy for VideoFusion to automatically learn the correlated residual noise with this video type of the video motions. So they find that they have to provide VideoFusion with explicit training guidance, and they do it this way. So in each training mini batch, they share the base noise across video with the same human identity, and share the residual noise across video with the same actions. So as we see in this image, the first 2 rows, which is representing a frame of 2 video clips. So in the first 2 rows, they kept the base noise fixed, and they changed the residual noise in each frame. So as we see that the background is the same, and the VideoFusion kept the person as the same person in the 2 rows, but the motions are different from the first row and the second row. And as we see in the last 2 rows, they did the reverse thing. So they the residual noise, they kept it fixed, and they changed the base noise. But as we see that VideoFusion changed the identity of the person and kept the same motion of all frames. Okay, in the next slide. Okay, so we're going to talk about the base and residual generator. So they found that keeping the base generator fixed will lead to unpleasant results due to the domain gap between the image data and video data. So the base generator generally trained on image data, while in our case, it's trained on, we want it to be trained on video data. So they found that it's better to fine-tune the base generator and video data with a small learning rate to get a better result from the VideoFusion. So they trained the VideoFusion on 3 types of data set. UCF, 101 and Sky Time Labs and Taishai HD. Okay. So they train and test the VideoFusion in 3 types of dataset, as we said. With UCF 101 dataset, they found that using small lambda and large lambda will give a really bad performance from VideoFusion. So choosing an appropriate lambda is very important for good result from this model. Next slide. So they do a visual comparison with the most recent state-of-the-art methods like TATS and GAN with the VideoFusion. And VideoFusion can generate a more realistic video with richer details and high-quality videos. Next slide. Okay, and to demonstrate the quality of the generated video from VideoFusion, they tried a text-to-video model with dataset called web video. And as we see, the result, depending on the given prompts, is really good and high quality. Next slide. Okay, the limitation and conclusion. So in this paper, we present a decomposed DPM for generate high-quality videos using a decomposed the standard diffusion process by adding a base noise and residual noise. But we have maybe 2 problems. So they found that sharing base noise among consecutive frames helps the video generation to better exploit the temporal correlation, but it may also limit the motion in the generated video. Also, they found that it's difficult to find a suitable lambda for all videos, since videos are different from each other. Some of it are with large frames, and the difference between frames is small, and some videos is large. So it's not easy to find the suitable lambda of all this type of videos. Next slide, we finished. So thank you all guys for attention. And if you have any question, please write it in the chat and we hopefully will answer it. Okay guys, if there's no question, we're gonna finish here. Hope you have an amazing day.